Hello everyone and welcome to the 6th episode of the JMC Cast. I am one of your hosts, Joseph Rutland, and once again I'm joined by my co-host...
Hello, I'm the other one.
Yeah, he's Michael. And we are also joined by my esteemed colleague, Edward.
Thank you, hi.
Now, to begin this, we've come up with a new thing, and Edward, I'm going to ask you a question. It's going to be quite a weird question, and you're going to have to answer it. Are you okay with that, Edward?
Yeah, I love weird questions, you know?
Okay. Here's the question. If you had to wear any item of clothing that was made out of fiberglass for 5 days a week, what item of clothing would you choose?
Well, wasn't it? Okay, yeah, that is a bit of a strange question. Fiberglass. I'm not even sure what fiberglass is. Let me just quickly search.
It's going to be like cutting into you. But
Oh,
it's
is it?
malleable.
Oh, I see.
So it's kind of like, imagine it like cotton, but with tiny shards of glass in it.
Oh, ow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to really hurt. No, I think, do you know how footballers wear shin pads? Could I wear fiberglass shin pads?
Yes.
Because that way it's just only on your shins, and it'll be a lot worse than wearing it as a shirt or something.
But wouldn't you want to reduce the surface area to have like maybe a smaller garment?
Well, I can't really think. I suppose socks. But yet again, I have problems with
That's
those,
touching
so
bare
really...
skin, so that'd hurt quite a bit.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe a fiberglass hat could work, because then you can rest that on your hair and avoid contact.
Yeah, but then your hair's going to get stuck in it, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, because it's all jaggedy with the
point.
little shards of glass.
Yeah. Well, what about I really like this question. Who wears a jacket on top of a shirt?
I wear a jacket all the
I think
time.
that's a normal thing to do, isn't it? I did.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Yeah.
sorry, that's what I meant. So if you wore a fiberglass jacket, then it wouldn't be rubbing against your skin nearly as much, would it?
No,
Probably not.
But yeah.
Yeah. You keep a shirt under there all the time, you should be fine.
Yeah.
Should
That
be.
is a strange question, though. I like that.
Thank you. I personally would wear a ring or something made of fiberglass to like minimise
Oh, I didn't
the
think of
amount
that.
of.
Oh, so technically, is that an accessory or clothing? So
I count jewellery as clothing more than accessories. They are
I
accessory clothing.
I would have said jewellery is close to accessory because it's small and
Yeah, I'm with Michael on this
clothing.
one.
The purpose is to sort of cover and like maintain sort of temperature and keep you warm and stuff. But you know, a ring is more an extra addition.
I'm with Michael.
Yeah. Anyway, without a further ado, let's jump right into the
Will do.
review. Does anyone have a coin?
I do. I was really excited about this. Can I do it?
Oh,
You can flip it.
Yeah. Alright, I'm looking in my wallet. I'll use the 10p coin. What's
Very
going to be heads
fancy.
and what's going to be tails, lads?
Dogtooth tails, Pan's Labyrinth heads.
We've got heads, so Pan's
Pan's
Ah,
Labyrinth,
nice.
right, well, it's your movie,
Aye.
so do you want to lead us on in?
Yeah, sure. Pan's Labyrinth is a brilliant film made by the director Del Toro. It is a fairy tale, but it is a fairy tale which does not confine to the normal roots of fairy tales where, you know, it all has a happy ending and stuff. And it follows a little girl nearing the end of the Spanish Civil War who is supposedly a princess of this mystical land doing trials and tribulations while herself and the rest of her family and people she knows are abused by a Spanish fascist captain. I think that's fairly apt description of the movie.
Yeah,
Description,
that's
yeah.
pretty summarised
Sums
it.
up quite nicely.
Yeah. I've seen this movie once before, and I think it's great. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys say first, to be honest. I don't know if that's fair to say.
I really enjoyed it personally.
I
thought,
would say that out of the movies we've done so far that I hadn't already seen, this is probably my personal favourite.
Nice.
I thought it was really, really good in pretty much every respect. Not surprised it got nominated for I think 3 Oscars. I think it.
I mean,
I think it deserves more than 3.
I don't know if it. I can't. I'm going to double check actually if it won any. I think it might have won Best Makeup, which it definitely deserved.
Yes,
That's
almost
really,
certainly.
really well done.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
Especially with the
the
pale
Thin Man. The Thin One, brilliant. The actor who plays the Thin Man, Doug Jones, he also played the Fawn. It was the same actor for both of them.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
There's
And he
adds some
works with
interesting
Del Toro
meanings.
quite often. He worked in Hellboy, which Del Toro directed, and also Shape of Water, which Del Toro also did. And also interesting, he was
I think it mentions here that Del Toro was actually considering doing a sequel to this, or something in the same vein, but he decided to do Hellboy 2 instead, so...
Well, it's interesting you should mention that, because there is a movie which came before this, which is very much its brother. So it's like a brother and sister movie.
Ah, yeah, you mentioned that.
Called Devil's Backbone. So should I ever be so lucky to come back on the podcast, I would recommend that, because it works so well with this movie.
Here we go. I was wrong on that call. It got nominated for, I think, 6 Oscars, and it won 3 for Best Cinematography, Best Art Direction, and Best Makeup.
Well, it definitely deserved all of them.
Yeah, if not a little bit more.
Yeah. Also, can we also say, like, I think that's some of, if not the best child acting I have seen in a long time.
I was going to say that. Yeah,
like that. She was 11.
11.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was only 11. And she's a really
Phenomenal.
good. I was really impressed.
Props to her. That I was thinking that going through, like halfway through, I realised, hang on, this is child acting, because like it just felt like normal acting. It was that good. If you get me. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. I mean, the girl who played Ophelia was fantastic. Everyone in the film was fantastic. The one which really stood out to me was the captain. You know, it's hard to make a character that hateable.
Yeah, I think interestingly as well, it mentions here that he's a Spanish actor who up until this point was actually most known for his comedy roles. And there was genuine concern that like Spanish audiences wouldn't be able to take him seriously as like an antagonist. But no, he is great as a truly hateable person.
Yeah,
he is.
He definitely.
I think the movie does seem to have a fair bit of sort of allegorical, symbolic elements, and he is basically the incarnation of the Francoist regime in like all of its worst aspects.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's more than that. I think it's more an incarnation of fascism as a whole, because of course you have the iconography at the beginning and throughout the movie of the piles of shoes, which we all recognise from
the Holocaust.
the atrocities, which was
noticed that.
Brutal militarism, arrogance, and absolute contempt for all of those below him. You know, it's It's the fascist attitude summarised. There's some other sort of other symbolism as well in regards to the something I noticed the first one. So the way the scene with Ophelia going into the roots of the tree to find and kill the toad, which has been.
It was quite Alice in Wonderland.
It's an Alice in Wonderland element there, which has been like gorging itself on and slowly killing it. And that's right next to the scene of the captain and the other sort of local elites eating a sumptuous dinner whilst discussing cutting the rations for the area's population. And I don't know whether that was deliberate, but there certainly seems to be a certain degree of symbolic meaning of creatures gorging themselves while others.
Yeah, there's definitely some cinematic parallels there. Agree.
Because if you, I think the Pale Man and the weird frog creature. What do you call that? Do you know?
I can't remember the actual name. I responded to the toad, but
it was just some sort of weird
the toad
beast.
Is probably a good way.
Yeah, I don't think it's given a name beyond that, but.
Okay, so we'll call it the Toad and the Pale Man. Obviously, I think, maybe even the Faun, but that's a bit iffy. Clearly has a parallel to the fascist captain, her stepdad, because you look at the scene where he's gorging himself at the dinner table, it's very similar to the dinner table which the Pale Man has, and he's sitting at the same location. I think that's a very clear parallel.
At the head of the table.
Yeah, and how the greed and the nastiness which affects the toad, and which comes with like what we think of when we think toads. I know I think of greed and sliminess, and that's kind of how people envision fascists, very greedy and stuff. So I think there's a very clear parallel there.
I think as well with the Pale Man, I noticed there's a few cases of the sort of some clever religious symbolism with him particularly the eyeballs in the hands and how they look before he puts them in there. I think are supposed to resemble a stigmata.
A stigmata? What's a stigmata?
Stigmata, the wounds of Christ, all through the hands.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But they're traditional. There's a certain tradition of, like, particularly in the Catholic tradition, which I'll get back to, of particularly holy people manifesting them as some sort of sign. But I think the fact that those are seen on the Pale Man, who is also tying into the allegory for fascism, I think that is probably deliberate, considering that the Francoist regime were also fanatic Catholics. So those tie together quite neatly. I think I noticed it as well with the depiction.
The stuff on the ceiling.
Yeah, the ceiling stuff and the frescoes are obviously church sort of resembling as well. And and there's a priest at the dinner scene with the captain, and also the pillar that's below the stairs in the labyrinth with the carving of the faun over the mother and child, which looks like the traditional depiction of the Virgin Mary and baby Jesus, which I thought was interesting. On the subject of the faun, actually, as well, I noticed if you pay attention, you can see that motif of the horns shows up in a bunch of different places in the background.
Yes. There's a lot of imagery in this film. There's so much to take to pieces. I mean, there's just so much. It's like, wow.
Yeah,
very descriptive here.
Well, yeah, it is. There is so much imagery. I mean, even you mentioned what is it from? I don't know the word. You mentioned it a second ago with the eyeball hands. How it's
the stigmata. Yeah.
Yeah, that. You also with that character as well as the stigmata, you have all the mythologic imagery with it as well.
Yeah,
eating the children to protect themselves from being like overtaken by the youth. You know what I mean? Like
he has the
like Kronos.
Sort of,
Kronos, that's all.
Yeah, it feeds into the whole like Titan thing with Kronos.
It has the sense of a folkloric boogeyman kind of creature.
Yeah, like the one you just mentioned, Joseph, but the one which used to Krampus. That's it.
Krampus, yes, Krampus.
Yeah, very similar to Krampus as well because he eats naughty children, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, he does actually. So again, it's European folklore. I think also the faun himself is, again, very interesting for the traditional symbolism in the sense that, like, the depiction of, like, a horned man goes back a long time in European folklore and, like, old pagan religious traditions. And and again, that makes sense with I love the sort of ruined labyrinth that's being slowly overgrown. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff in movies and fiction in general. But also I think the faun is quite interesting as a character, just because even by the end I still wasn't entirely sure how trustworthy he had actually been.
I didn't
throughout.
trust him. I thought that it was going to turn out it was a big trap and he was going to eat the brother as soon as he got his hands on him.
I mean,
I'm quite intrigued by the faun because you can see the parallel between the Toad and the Captain. You can very clearly see the parallel between the Captain and the Pale Man. But the third trial is when she's facing off to the faun, and she's also facing off to the Captain. So is there a parallel to between those characters? And if so, what is it? Because I'm struggling to find one, but I feel like there must be one there.
I personally took it as, well, she's obviously lost her father, and the faun kind of fills in the father figure role because he's loving, sort of, occasionally, and generally caring.
That's a good call, actually.
And, like, the stepfather, the Captain, he's not particularly loving, but the faun kind of temporarily takes that role in her life. Like Mercedes also takes in her life when her mother dies. There's a lot of feeling of having an adopted family.
The Captain is the opposite of a good father figure, but you made that point as well. I was saying about the carvings earlier. When she's looking at the pillar and the faun says something like, "That's me and that's you." The depiction's there again, the father figure. Again, the faun iconography appears on the headboard of the mother's double bed, which she spends a lot of her time in. So again, the faun possibly is a surrogate father figure. But I was thinking about it, I saw that, like, in the climax in the labyrinth, they both represent sort of dangerous father figures who want to get their hands on the baby. The Captain is obsessed with it because obviously he's obsessed with, like, having a male heir to his legacy, and the faun wants it, for reasons unknown, though obviously it turns out to be a test. So they're both kind of contrasting but still threats to Ophelia herself, who's trying to protect the child at all costs.
Yeah, I like that
parallel. I think Del Toro Del Toro mentioned, speaking of like the ending, Del Toro mentioned at some point that the statue at the bottom of the labyrinth of the woman holding the child, that's actually supposed to be like it at the end where Mercedes is holding Ophelia. And that's what it's supposed to be like foreshadowing, because Ophelia's holding the baby and Mercedes is holding Ophelia.
This a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, the movie literally starts with Ophelia dying. They only realise it
blood
later.
is sucked back up into her nose.
I'd almost forgotten about that. It was only at the end I was like, oh no, wait a minute, this isn't going to end well for her, is it?
Yeah. I think it's also quite interesting that Del Toro wasn't originally going to do this film, and he actually turned down being able to direct The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe to be able to do this. And of course, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe also has a faun in it, so make of that what you will. But I reckon that the faun in this could definitely beat Mr. Tumnus in a fight.
That wouldn't be hard. They
Two fawns? Coincidence? I think not.
Wake up, sheeple. Del Toro Gate.
How many like alternate timelines are there wherein Del Toro directs like, sort of book adaptation movies? Because he was supposed to do Lion, the Witch and Wardrobe. He was supposed to do The Hobbit at one point.
He was.
I would watch both of them.
I would have loved to see him do The Hobbit, because I think he would have known how to handle it better than Peter Jackson did.
Anything would have been better than The Hobbit we got.
I mean, because the problem was Peter Jackson tried to do The Hobbit as a prequel to Lord of the Rings, but that's not what the book is. It's a children's fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale.
This movie shows that Del Toro knows how to do a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a dark one.
Yeah.
I saw The Hobbit when I was like 11 or something when it came out, and like that's the age that the book's supposed to be. But I was utterly bored during it. It's not hitting the right demographic.
No, I think I read the book when I was younger, then watched the movies, and I liked the book, but I did find the movies very tedious. There's not enough material in there to make 3 films.
Yes,
2
I
probably.
agree.
I think Del Toro wanted to make it like 2 movies. I think that would work, but 3, it's just overextending it. And I think they had to end up putting in a bunch of stuff that had been in the indexes of Lord of the Rings to like fill out the movies, especially the 3rd one for The Hobbit.
Yeah, I only ever watched the first one.
It's interesting we should talk about The Hobbit real quick, because I can agree that The Hobbit was sucked as a movie, but I also have a very soft spot for it in my heart, and I don't know why. So I like The Hobbit, but meanwhile appreciate that it's rubbish.
Yeah, personal attachment. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I have many films that I have personal attachment to, like Spider-Man 3. That's my childhood superhero film. It's the only one I watched. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, my first Indiana Jones movie. And I don't know, I just like it the most, even though it's crap, because it's the one I grew up with.
Yeah, when childhood gives you a bit of a bias, doesn't it?
And the 2 Doctors will always make it onto my top 5 favourite classic Who episodes.
I mean, I am almost slightly ashamed to admit that for a long time, when I was a kid especially, I had a big soft spot for the Phantom Menace, because I think it was the first Star Wars movie.
Oh, you naughty boy!
Because I think it was the first Star Wars movie I actually ever watched when I was like 4. So because of that, I always had a certain liking for it. It was only when I got older and actually looked at it, thought this isn't very good at all.
Yeah. It's interesting you should mention that, because this is going to be a very unpopular opinion.
Oh dear.
I had that same experience, but with all the Star Wars films. So I just cannot stand Star Wars now. So yeah, people hate me.
To be fair, the last 3 films were... Well, I mean, The Last Jedi was alright, but other than that, it's been kind of crap.
Last 3 films were inconsistent, I found.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm a really big Star Wars fan, even though I only actually consider half of the movies to be good.
Yeah.
But nobody hates Star Wars like Star Wars fans, so
See, this is why I'm not a Star Wars fan. I like Revenge of the Sith.
And to be fair, there are a lot of people who do, and I mean, Revenge of the Sith is the least bad prequel.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's all I will say about Revenge of the Sith. Compared to the other 2, it is not as bad. By general standards, a bit weak.
I think it's better than all of the sequels.
No way is it better than the sequels.
I reckon it's better than the sequels. Anyway,
The Last
back
Jedi
to Pan's
is way...
Labyrinth.
Okay, before we go back to Pan's Labyrinth, The Last Jedi is way better than Revenge of the Sith. and I will die on that hill. But anyway, we've gone way off topic here.
We have
Yes,
gone
yes.
completely off topic here.
Veered away.
Definitely.
Which is so odd, because there is still so much more to talk about. If we're talking about parallels, and so far all we've talked about is parallels, Ophelia and Mercedes stories. Both want to protect their younger brother, and I'm starting to forget my rest of my point, and I should have made a note of it. But there are more points to come as I quickly Google where I found this point. Here we are. Yeah, both have a knife, both have keys, both like have their own little space, which they like hide away into. Obviously, Mercedes in the forest, and Ophelia's is somewhere, and I can't remember where. And both ultimately like give up their. They don't want to like give up their little brother's life, and they fight for their little brother.
Yeah, that's interesting actually. Especially because Mercedes ends up serving a sort of mother role to Ophelia.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved the general brutality in this film. I thought it was. I'm a sucker for that. Like, one of the effects I'm working on at the moment is someone getting their face smashed in with a rock. So when I saw that guy getting his face smashed in with a bottle and doing pretty much what I'm trying to do, except I'm making mine out of clay.
I can handle most movie violence, but that bit specifically actually made me like physically cringe because it was, oh god.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they went no holds barred with realistic depictions of violence, and I think that really works to its favour.
And like when the captain's sewing his own mouth, because it got slashed open, that was beautiful. I mean,
beautiful.
Well, my concept of beautiful, as someone who works on practical effects,
you're just making yourself sound weirder, dude. It was
okay. As
it
someone
was
who works
really
on
well
practical
done.
effects, it was beautiful.
Yeah. All of the effects work was really good. That part of it. It didn't have that. It had a fairly good budget, so what Actually,
the
no,
CG in
actually.
parts was kind of outdated, like the weird cockroach crickets looked a bit.
Bear in mind, this is a $20 million budget, and it was made about 15 years ago. So
it's still
CG
good,
hasn't all aged like brilliantly, but it still looks good. And the practical
no, I think
effects,
it's 10 years ago, Matt. Hold on a second. Pan's Labyrinth. You can hear me typing there now. Oh no, you're right. You're right. You're completely right. I'm an idiot.
2006.
Yep.
Funny that doesn't turn into a parallel.
I hope not.
So many coincidences.
One little detail I really liked on watching is the scene towards the start/middle-ish where Ophelia opens the book in the bathroom and then like the pages turn blood red because of warning of like what's happening. One of the things I really loved the detail there was when the bloodstains start, they actually spread out in a shape that's exactly like, you ever see a medical diagram of like ovaries?
Yes, the ovaries and the vagina.
It's the same shape, which obviously is like, it's just a little detail, but it's that kind of stuff that I think is really
It's interesting you should bring that up, because I've got something to say about that. Because I read a review somewhere, I'm not sure how much I agree with it, that where this film depicts the divine feminine, the devil's backbone depicts the divine masculine, and you can see this throughout the movie, this imagery of the ovaries, obviously in that scene. But then you look at the tree, which is on the front cover, and the tree she goes into.
Yes, it's very crevical.
It looks that kind of way. And then you look at like some of the like pictures of the Pale Man. He's standing in that kind of position with his arms coming out where the ovaries would be, I think. My brain's like slightly tired.
I hadn't thought about the tree.
There's probably a bit more.
I'd seen it and thought, it's shaped like the fawn, but no, there's some stock in that interpretation as well.
The Pale Man himself, even though he is the Pale Man, he's generally rather androgynous. He looks neither male nor female.
He, or possibly more accurately, it is referred to as the Pale Man, but whatever it is certainly inhuman.
Terrifying. It's some sort of eldritch creature that devours children.
Creepy.
Do not like.
Yeah, real creepy.
I certainly wouldn't like it in my bedroom.
It's one of the only things I was really familiar with before I watched this, because I went in almost entirely blind, with the exception of being familiar with the imagery of the Pale Man with the eyeball hands.
Same.
Which, I thought that sequence was really just. I mean, again, it's not the action and the cinematography in general was great, but the action and all that was also really well executed.
Yeah. The only thing I knew about it was the Pale Man, so I assumed that the movie was going to have more of the fairy tale Labyrinth stuff, and the Spanish Civil War stuff was just going to be in the background. But I was pleasantly surprised.
50-50 mix. Yeah, so sort of the... I mean, I certainly looking at it when I was finished, I was sort of plagued by the recurring thought of, like, was it real?
I choose to believe it was.
Or was it the product of Ophelia's imagination?
Or coping mechanisms.
Yeah, because you think about it, we actually see when the captain shows up in the middle of the labyrinth that he can't see the fawn. And I don't think at any point does any character other than Ophelia herself actually see and interact with, you know, the magical elements of the story.
It's a magical fawn. It only appears to Ophelia because it's the only one it needs to.
Yeah, but I disagree with you, Michael, there, because you just said that none of the characters actually interact with the magical elements, and no one else sees a fawn. That is correct, no one sees a fawn, but the fawn gives Ophelia the mandrake root, which obviously has that big scene.
Yeah, yes. Again, that's an interesting question, though, that with the mandrake. Thing is, I personally don't want to believe that it was all in Ophelia's imagination, because that means she's actually just dead, tragically, and I would rather know that her character did get a happy ending.
Yeah.
But again, with the mandrake, though, now, again, my memory might be faulty on this one, but doesn't it, the captain finds it under the bed, and isn't it, I might be wrong, for all the scene where he is present with it, it is immobile, and then when it's thrown on the fire, it sort of screams and curls up and burns off. I can't remember whether Ophelia was the only person who sees that, or if her mother sees it as well.
I don't think so, but as well with the mandrake, like when she's under the bed just before the captain comes in, the mandrake isn't moving when she's the only one seeing it. So
yeah, but that's what the mandrake does, isn't it? It takes the elements of the mother, which is obviously on the bed above, and then takes it for itself, making the mother feel better. So when the mandrake is thrown onto the fire, the elements which the mother once had but didn't at that time all came back to her.
Yes.
So
also there's the thing of the locked room, because Ophelia's locked in her room and then manages to get out with the magic chalk. Now, if she didn't have the magic chalk and it wasn't a magic chalk, how the hell did she get out of the locked room?
Oh, this is weird. My brain is thinking.
I had thought about the mandrake. Yeah, I was going to say the mandrake scene is also ironic because the captain burns it and gets rid of it, despite the fact that it's actually sustaining his wife's health, and he is concerned about that as long as it...
Yeah.
He is concerned about that as far as it will lead to her giving birth to his son, after which he could not give less of a shit about her, because he is an awful person. Which is also why I really, really like what happens to him in the end, where he realises that his son and heir and the legacy he has wanted to cultivate for so long is going to be stripped away from him, and there's nothing he can do about that.
And he says, it's quite interesting with the his death, because Del Toro, when he was a young student, he would go to lunch, and one of the ways he went to lunch was through a morgue, and the way he was inspired for that death is that one time when he was on the way to his lunch, he, in the morgue, found a cadaver that had been shot through the cheek, and the eye had rolled back, so he based that off like a cadaver he found on his way to lunch.
Interesting.
I don't know if it put it off his lunch, but
it would.
You'll have to
probably not be pleasant, but I don't. That's a death in general. I mean, he goes through a hell of a lot of punishment.
I mean, deserves it,
and still survives. Like seeing him get stabbed in the back is again an immensely satisfying case of, especially reincorporation. Because I remember you see Mercedes like has the sort of fish gutting knife that she tucks away in her apron. After seeing that a couple of times, I was thinking, ooh, this is going to get brought back, isn't it, later? And it was immensely satisfying when it was, because, you know, he deserved that.
Hell yeah.
Yes. But also, I thought it was quite interesting with the pocket watch, because it was his father's pocket watch, who, when he was fighting in Morocco, smashed it on a rock so the time would stop, so his son would know how he died and stuff, and at the time he died. And it's really ironic, because he's obsessed with his legacy, when by fixing the watch, he is destroying his own father's legacy.
Yeah, it's and of course, what he says about, you know, tell him the time his father died. So you get the impression that whilst we only ever hear a little bit about his father, it seems like he had a very big impact on him and his own character and his own parenting.
He was a lot more of an honourable man than him.
You get the impression that having to live in the shadow of a war hero his entire life has affected his ego and his aspirations in the military.
It kind of reminds me of a psychotic Arnold Rimmer in a way. Oh, you've not watched Red Dwarf, have you? Sorry. People who have seen it.
I've watched a bit of it. But it was a long time ago, man.
But yeah, the two characters could have a bit of a parallel there. But the whole thing with him being stripped of... This is the captain, by the way, not Arnold Rimmer. The whole thing of him being stripped of his legacy is... I mean, it's damn well deserved. And it does fit in with him fixing his father's stopwatch, which was destroying his father's legacy because he broke the stopwatch as a thing so his son could grow up to be a decent, honest person. And if you notice, whenever the father is doing something particularly despicable, he always looks at the stopwatch, just kind of like his conscience, a Jiminy Cricket stopwatch or something like that.
Yeah, he's...
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
You've paid a lot more attention.
Yeah.
I think I have. But I hadn't noticed that, if you know what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say. Not that I didn't pay attention to the movie, of course, but I hadn't noticed that he kept looking at... Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he kept on looking at his pocket watch.
Yeah, he looks at it a few times. He's got a bit of an obsession. I just thought it was the nice details as well of how giving some a bit of just... I was surprised by how much I felt something when the captain's right-hand man got killed. Not even because I liked him, but just because he was a recurring character who had actually had a bit of a personality built up for him. I think they did that with a few, the Stammerer as well, who gets treated absolutely awfully, the poor guy. And I just like the fact that with relatively little screen time prior for those side characters, Del Toro is still able to give them a bit more depth and a bit more personality that makes their death actually sort of, you have some emotional investment. Especially for the Doctor, I found. I really liked him.
And the stuttering man.
Yeah, exactly. He,
poor guy got tortured with a fucking hammer. I mean, that's brutal.
Brutal sort of...
Brutality.
Again, brutal brutality, yeah.
Brutal brutality.
My job at the Department of Redundancy Department.
Indeed. A tautological statement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right, have we got any further thoughts?
I don't know. I really liked the whole thing with the frog, because I love woodlice. And that whole frog was just cool. It sicked out its whole body. It was just skin left over. I thought that was cool. Although it was a bit weird how it was just a big yellow blob. But it's fairy tale. It can get away with that. So yeah, that's my final thoughts.
I got nothing else to really add.
Michael?
I think I've said everything I wanted to say, honestly. I don't know, it is just a really good movie that's got a dark fairy tale with a sort of very believable element of real life drama that's all grounded in actual historical context. It gives you a sort of glimpse at how much the Civil War has and still does affect the Spanish cultural consciousness.
Yeah. So should we give our ratings, rankings, whateverings?
Yeah.
Do you want to go? I would give this. Actually, Michael, do you want to go first?
Yeah, right. I don't know, strong 8, maybe a 9. Like I said, I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it to people. It's a good watch.
Edward, would you care to give your 20 cents?
I'm going to give it a 9. I think it only gets better. I think it's great.
Nice. I'd give it a 9.5. Close to perfect, but the CGI is a bit outdated. Yeah. So that's our thoughts on Pan's Labyrinth. Now, time to talk about some Greek incest porn.
Okay, can I just preface before we talk about Dogtooth, whose idea was this?
Are you not... I was going to say, actually, I was thinking the same thing. And then I looked it up and I realised it was directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. And suddenly, I think it was directed. It's only written by him. And suddenly a lot starts to make sense.
It was also directed by him. He also did Lobster, Alps, and some other thing as well.
The Favourite. Yeah.
The Favourite, yeah.
I have seen The Favourite. I love that movie. Again, but it also his movies are weird, like really weird,
Yeah.
and this is no exception.
Like, I saw the trailer and I was like, we gotta do this for a review. And I remember talking to Soph the other week and I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna watch this one with Edward. And she was like, Dogtooth with Edward. This is gonna be hilarious. She didn't warn me about...
Dogtooth before?
Apparently, yeah, she didn't warn me about
the
any
little
of the things.
right. If you're listening to this, Sophie, right, I'm gonna come and beat you up.
You better run, Soph. He's gonna... He's
Yeah,
coming.
you better run.
Yeah, but she didn't warn me about any of this stuff. She was like, oh, you're getting Edward on for Dogtooth. This is going to be class.
God's sake, Sophie. Oh, no. Oh, Sophie, I am just annoyed that I got no warning about this.
Because, of course, me and Edward started watching it about the same time, to the point where when I just finished, I got a text from Edward saying, what the fuck did I just watch?
That was my reaction. I went in almost entirely blind, aside from knowing the vague premise, and it was just like, what? I was gonna say it's the most hypnotically uncomfortable thing I've watched in a long time. Like,
yeah, I think that's a good way to.
I was almost actively disliked it because it was so immersive, yet I could not peel my eyes away from the screen.
Yeah, I know, it's brilliant.
I hate and think this is a brilliant piece of cinema. I am traumatized this. I think there's moments in this movie I will never be able to get out of my head. And in a way I regret watching this. But at the same time I will say this is brilliantly made. I hate it. I can say that.
This film went out and tried to make you feel uncomfortable. That was the whole point, and goddamn did it work, and a clap and a half for that.
I've never felt more uncomfortable in my life.
Same, it was amazing.
It's the cinematography especially, I think, was really, really well done.
It does the kind of it does the same thing that Ida does, but better, because it's trying to be uncomfortable.
Shots that are carefully framed to... Because it's quite widescreen, narrow sort of aspect ratio, and a lot of the shots that are carefully framed to cut the actors' faces are out of frame. So you're just looking at the sort of torsos, and it adds to the whole sense of disquiet and unease.
Yeah. Well, I think we should quickly give the listeners an overview of what this is about. Because...
Assuming you haven't already watched it, which you probably haven't, though. I would.
I'm not sure if I can recommend this.
I normally say, like, you should go and watch these and then listen to us talk about, but maybe you don't want to go and watch this. So
no, totally watch this. This was amazing. What the plot of this movie is? There is a sort of cult group of a family.
It's not even a cult. It's just a pair of parents,
overprotective,
who are so overprotective and controlling that they never let their children leave their house ever. They are constrained to the house and its garden, which is all surrounded by sort of high walls and seems to be in quite a remote rural area. And the children have been told that they can leave once their dog tooth falls out, like their canine.
Which obviously it's never going to.
Yeah, they're all adults. It's never going to come out. The parents, the children don't have names.
They're the eldest, the youngest, and the boy.
Yeah, and the parents lie to them about everything about the outside world to ensure that basically they never leave.
Like the airplanes.
They tell them that it's incredibly dangerous out there. And because the children have been raised in it, they don't understand the idea of anything else. Stuff like the scene where they're playing the Frank Sinatra.
Yes,
and the father tells them,
grandfather.
Yeah. Tells them it's their grandfather, then gives them a completely different translation of the English lyrics, which is just all about like being devoted and loving your family. I thought especially the guy who played the father was really good.
He was amazing.
All of the cast were good, but he especially stood out.
All the cast were brilliant, which made me hate it even more. And the problem is, they found 3 actors who looked so like siblings.
They looked really
uncomfortable.
They're not related at all, I believe, but they all looked like they were siblings. Which
they looked incredibly alike, which made the incest
scene
even more. Yeah, well, it was 2 minutes long. I want my eyes bleached.
I remember thinking at the time, hang on, is Edward watching this on a television? Oh no, the poor guy. I can't warn him.
The original plan was to watch it with my dad. I am very glad that had to fall through.
Tell you what,
I'm happy for you, man.
Even like the first sex scene you see, Even
It's
though,
very
even though
awkward.
it's so mechanical and uncomfortable. Like
Yeah.
everything's uncomfortable, but I genuinely did not like watching it because it's so
I don't-
emotionless.
There's no passion.
No, the opposite.
No, it just felt passionless.
Yeah.
It was. I can't verbalize how uncomfortable this was. Like I sent my a good mate of mine a review of the movie.
Oh.
Just a review. It was a review by I don't know, this guy who's like disturbing movies reviews on YouTube. I don't fucking know what he was called. But I watched it beforehand. I thought, just normal movie review. I sent it to her, and she just responded with, "I am traumatized from the review alone." And I think that is a pretty apt description. This is so traumatizing from the premise.
And the concept is so well executed. The one of the things I saw that I really liked was the description somebody said where it almost could be classed as science fiction or speculative fiction in the way that it does create this world that feels totally alien.
Yeah.
Nothing this horribly dysfunctional family does is recognisably normal. In the way the parents act, in the way the children act, and it's not the kids' fault because they've been indoctrinated from birth.
Yeah.
The parents, though. And it's almost made worse, I find, by the fact that we see very little of the parents.
The mother.
The mother especially is this almost secondary figure. You can tell who's in charge, and it's not her. But even with the father himself, you never really quite get to understand why. Like, there's lip service about not letting my children be corrupted by the outside world, but that doesn't go far enough, I mean. And the fact that he's a violently abusive control freak at least gives us a sense. But I was never quite satisfied with what we saw, and the fact that there doesn't even seem to be a purpose or reason makes it even worse in its discomfort,
I just assumed it was shits and giggles.
What you did, Joseph?
It's one of those YouTube prank videos that's just gone on too long and they can't do anything about it now.
And the next Jake Paul video investigating the Dogtooth household.
Oh, this is how Morgs came around, lads.
Not telling my children about the outside world challenge gone wrong, gone sexual.
Well, it did go sexual.
God.
Yeah, it did go wrong and sexual. I hid in my dad's car boot at 3 a.m. Don't do this. I also found that
Don't watch
ending.
this video at 3 a.m.
That unresolved ending as well, where it's just the shot of the rear of the car, and it just holds, and then nothing happens.
Yeah, that really annoyed me because I looked and it had like 6 minutes left, and I didn't know that was credits, and I thought, oh, so we've got like a dramatic climax coming, and then it just stopped, and it's like, well, is she dead? What's going on? What is it?
What a cliffhanger.
Don't get to find out.
Because she's like trapped in a car boot in a boiling hot country. I mean, she's going to be roasted in a metal car.
She jumped in the boot, and of course, thinking about it, there's no indication that she's actually able to open it from the inside.
Breathe.
And of course, I don't think she'd know because I don't think she's ever been in the car before by the looks of it. So it's entirely possible that she's got in the boot and actually suffocated in there and not been able to get out. And the parents don't even have any idea. I mean, and of course, there's not that scary thought that even in best case scenario, she does get out of there and she survives and escapes into the outside world. What's she going to do then? Because
she can't do anything.
She doesn't even have a name. I don't think she knows her parents' names. They're just mother and father. So she's probably not legally... Her birth almost certainly has not been legally registered. So she is a non-person as far as the government is concerned and law enforcement is concerned. How is she going to call the cops when she doesn't know... She couldn't tell them anything about the perpetrators of what's going on.
Also, the only thing that she actually knows is trading sex for objects, and that's literally the only thing she knows about the outside world. So
I think that was the younger sister who did that, wasn't it?
No, it was the older sister. She traded.
Yeah, I think
was it? My bad.
she
ate the
learned
one out
it
for the hairband.
Also, 80s movie references.
Yes,
because that's her only encounter with the outside world is through quoting the entirety of Rocky and Jaws. I really liked it, and also when she does the whole bit from Flashdance, and that's sort of the final straw as far as the parents are concerned.
That scene, I didn't see that as Flashdance, and in hindsight, I should have. I saw that as the music video for the Icelandic Eurovision song. What is it? Talk About Things.
I mean, either way,
I don't know if...
it works.
Have you seen the music video? Because it is exactly like that.
I mean, yeah. Actually, I was going to say something about that. Like, in terms of date, I think it's supposed to be contemporary, and the film was made like late 2000s, so it's supposed to be contemporary with
2009.
But it is hard to tell because the family themselves are working with what seems to be very backwards technology. The TV
Yes,
set
I
looks like it's
noticed
out
that.
of the 70s.
I assumed that was because they were having no Wi-Fi or anything that could have Wi-Fi, under the risk that the children could get onto the internet and learn things. Even
no-
television, they're still using VHSs, and there's that weird silent VHS in black and white of that woman sucking a dick very graphically.
Yeah, you got the porn VHS. Yeah, I mean, even if Greece was not quite on the cutting edge of technology, and probably still isn't, it's certainly not that far behind. I mean, you can see, like, when we
They're
get
using
to
Walkmen when they go to
see
sleep.
the father at work. But actually, now I think about it, if they were born, the kids all look to be around 20-ish.
Around 20, so like early 90s, late 80s.
Yeah, if they were born around the early 90s and they are using VHS players and a 70s era TV and Walkmen, then
they're stuck in the 90s.
Yeah, it's probably the case that actually the parents haven't updated any of the technology, possibly deliberately, as part of keeping the kids in this stasis world, where nothing ever changes.
Yeah.
I certainly thought when there's like, let's watch a video, and for a second I was thinking like, oh, so they do expose them to outside pop culture, and then I realised that no, it's like a home movie, and somehow that scene especially is depressing because you realise that like that's a fun evening as far as those kids are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, there's
so
lots of
weird.
weird explanations of like, because like the planes falling out the sky, as well as the idea that fish just appear in the swimming pool occasionally.
But of course, that's what they think because they don't know how it works.
But they've been given books about biology and chemistry. They should know how it works.
Yeah,
they know how they have an intricate knowledge of the human body.
Yeah, but as clearly shown at the beginning of the movie, their homeschooling is learnt by just sitting down listening to a what do you call it? I can't.
What, a cassette tape player, yeah.
Cassette
Tape, that's it. At the beginning of it, they're listening to a cassette tape of them being told what words mean. So a motorway means a light gust of wind. That's almost a direct quote. This is a very strange movie. But yeah, a gust of wind. And that's clearly what they're being taught. That's their substitute for being homeschooled. I thought, in hindsight.
I think you see books, but again, bearing in mind the parents take the labels off everything. The books will have been edited and redacted, because even in the case of the material they are given, all of their information about the outside world is filtered through their parents, and almost everything they're told is false.
And that's why Christine creates all those ripples, like saying stuff like zombie. What's zombie? It's a small yellow flower.
That gets reincorporated later, actually, I recall, as well. But it gives this, because it's all about the parents trying to, again, make the kids think that everything in the outside world is dangerous and the only place they're safe is at home, inside. And obviously and it's gone so far that even just the slight introduction of an outsider in the form of Christina almost literally causes it all to fall apart. Which
and Christina
is kind of
is a strange woman to begin with.
Yeah, she's got an odd role to play, that's for sure. And
the fact that of children,
the teachers actually can't take any risks because what they've built is really fragile, and even the slightest, just the slightest interaction that the eldest daughter gets with the outside world is enough to lead to her trying to escape. So you can see why. Well, you can't see. It makes sense that they're going to continually being hyperprotective, because if they don't, their little enclosed bubble is going to break.
It's going to pop.
But it's incredibly creepy that you should mention the fact that she tries to escape, because I think that's particularly creepy, because it's not even that she's not even that she wants to escape, so she's just going to escape no matter what. She still escapes via the way her parents set her out to. So she literally goes out and knocks out her dog tooth, and then she runs away to make sure that she doesn't have the dog tooth.
So she's escaping, but she's doing it by following their rules.
Yes.
Also, again, I was talking about wince-worthy violence earlier, and that scene was, oh god, I genuinely couldn't look. It was Oof.
The one that
Yeah,
made
yeah.
me the most uncomfortable, like, violence is when she, like, slashes her brother's arm. That made me go, fucking hell. And, like,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
again.
Okay, hold on. What was the point in that? Because wasn't it different? Wasn't it the other sister who was fighting for the plane?
I think it was. I thought it was done to show how immature they are. Yeah,
I
they
assumed
are
that as well.
they are grown adults physically, but mentally they are still dependent children because their parents haven't allowed them to develop. And lashing out with violence like that is a child reaction. So I thought it was supposed to show that they aren't developed at all, which kind of makes them having sex even more weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because especially with the brother and sister, it's questionable to put it very lightly.
If you want to watch a 2-minute incest scene, which is well incorporated into a movement, if you want to watch a 2-minute incest scene which is well incorporated into a movie somehow, watch this. Otherwise, do not watch this.
I mean, if you want to be made, if you like Yorgos Lanthimos or you like being really uncomfortable, I would recommend it. And on a technical level, cinematography, set design, acting, and all that, it's all really, really good. Like, must have been a very low budget.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Oh no, it was super low budget.
very
It was
small
€250,000. So yeah, it did not cost a lot at all.
Because there was the main family, there was the guy that he works with, and then there was Christina, and that's it.
Yeah, you
Cast-wise,
basically
really.
almost all of the action takes place in the house or on the property. There's only like a few scenes that are at where the father works.
Speaking of which, are we going to talk about the fake son over the hedge?
Yeah, what? Yeah.
Because I thought
Good.
that was quite weird. Because originally we had a scene of the son talking to a hedge, saying how he's better at doing the dishes and all that chores stuff, and then he starts throwing stones over, and then the parents are like, "Oh well, your brother wouldn't throw stones, so it was obviously you throwing stones." And then later on, you see the sister throwing cake over to her quote-unquote brother. And then later on, the dad says the brother has been killed by a cat. I think it's interesting to show that the brother is introduced to the children by the parents to show that your dog tooth can fall out. And here's your older sibling whose dog tooth fell out and now he's on the other side of the hedge. I think it's quite interesting, like, just to show that...
Oh my.
As a role model for them to show, like, behave like your brother and you will be able to get out eventually, but they're not, because...
Yeah, they're never
can
going to be
never
able to. Unless they physically knock it out.
Even then,
Or they just...
the parents will, assuming they find it, will come up with some other sort of, excuse/reason that didn't count and that they're going to have to stay there anyway, so...
No takesy
Exactly.
backsies.
Yeah.
The amount of times I had to write the word incest during my notes, it's too much, I personally think.
Too much. I think the director has a bit of a
I mean,
obsession.
The movie makes it very, very clear you're not supposed to be enjoying this bit,
No.
There's
definitely.
nothing remotely erotic about it, which, damn,
No.
have to avert your eyes, really.
Yeah, you do. Because I am 90% certain that a lot of, like, the big one at the end, the incest one. I hate how I can say that sentence. But yeah, the big one at the end, I'm 90% certain that wasn't faked.
What, you think they actually had sex?
Yeah, I'm 90% certain.
Possibly, probably. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised,
Well, the
Yeah.
acting job can do many strange things to an actor.
It's only to those two.
We've all got to
Yeah.
prepare for the worst, Edward. We've got to knuckle down and make sure that we don't go to any too particularly weird auditions. Unless we want to. I mean, it depends which line of acting you want to go down. You might want to... Well, I'm not going to go there.
Hey, step bro.
What are you doing, Bro?
No. Oh, I hate this. I have a weird relationship with this movie.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else then.
Damn it. Damn it, Joseph. Oh, no.
Oh dear me.
Anyway,
the eldest sister's funky dance moves, I liked them, and I liked the music that accompanied them with his little banjo.
yeah.
Just she looks like she's on Ket or something like that. And
Well, like I said, that's the bit from Flashdance, isn't it?
she boogies her heart out, and I feel that she boogies her heart out, and she tries her best.
Yeah, she goes all out with that dance move, and it does not go appreciated.
No,
Yeah,
they don't care.
I find it hilarious how the younger sister licks her father to get a harpoon gun.
Well, yeah, because it's a learned behaviour, isn't it? That's what
It's so strange.
That's what she's been taught to do when she wants to get something. Again, it's the child thing. They act like children. They learn these behaviours, and then try and
But
test
why
them out.
why are they taught to lick one of each other? That just sounds like the father's got some really strange fucking fetish.
You're saying you think he doesn't?
That was picked up from
Good point.
what Christina was doing with the elder child, which again is kind of
Getting her to lick
questionable
the
and-
keyboard.
Yeah, rather exploitative, I think. Christina.
Yes.
Christina is not a good person by any means, because she's complicit in all of this and ends up doing nothing and ends up badly injured at the end. I don't know what
after
happens to her.
sexually abusing a person.
Exploiting somebody who I would argue is probably not in a place to give proper consent at all.
Yes.
Yes.
And being complicit in this whole abusive, dysfunctional situation. She is in a position where she that guy is her boss. She could have reported that to the authorities, and she chose not to. And I mean, I don't know. It's not clear what happens to her in the end. Again, it's ambiguous. But either way,
brains
I can't...
bashed out by a VHS player.
Yeah, it's
Perhaps even dead.
Yeah, I was wondering, is she actually dead? She's been that thing looked heavy. Her brain. She's given some sort of internal bleeding in her brain that probably could have killed her. I mean, the father's sort of violent tendencies are sort of revealed as the film goes on, and you start to see why the children are so fearful of punishment.
He's almost, well, I was about to say he is as hateable as the father figure in Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, he's almost... I don't know whether we could really compare them, because they're both absolutely awful bastards, but in different ways. This father is a horribly controlling, abusive, possible narcissist. But then again, that's also kind of what the captain is. He's also... He just also happens to be a ruthless military officer in a fascist regime, which maybe makes him even worse, but
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a house in Dogtooth, the fascist regime.
Yeah, in a sense.
More coincidences.
Yeah, I mean,
Too many coincidences.
propaganda, authoritarianism, and absolute loyalty required of everybody. It's not dissimilar. Though I would say the key difference, I think, is that I do get the impression the captain almost actually cares about his son.
Oh yeah,
Well,
he defo does.
He cares about him
defo does.
in the sense that he's gonna be his legacy. But I did get the impression he did have a genuine kind of emotional, actual fatherly emotional connection to the kid. But for all the father's talk of protecting my children, I think it's pretty clear that what he really wants is to control them.
Yes,
It's not about love or protection. It's about having people that are completely under his will.
Well, he is like a boss in a factory, so I suppose that could be why he got that job in the first place, because he's good at subjugating people and getting them to do his will.
I personally would feel that the kind of parenting skills he exhibits usually aren't considered acceptable in the workplace. Don't think they have been since the 19th century.
I don't think they were particularly acceptable in any circumstance.
Yeah, not since the 19th century, no.
Yeah, oh god, I need to bring the Hong Kong version of when Inspector Calls on this. It's the weirdest thing ever.
The fact that does it have Waifu, sort of...
I think so. The promotional material said, coming soon, the wackiest film of the year, an Inspector Calls. Which is...
What?
I know,
amazing.
I watched it.
I want to see this.
I watched it, and it's kind of like Tim Burton does Inspector Calls kind of thing. It's got the same
the wackiest
vibe.
movie of the year?
No, it's got the same vibes as his Charlie and the Chocolate Factory kind of thing, and the same visual style.
I feel like we need to do that at some point, because that sounds good.
I tell you what. What we should do is I want to come back on this podcast again, because I do genuinely love listening to this. So I want to come back on it again. I want to do Devil's Backbone. So maybe we could do that in Devil's Backbone.
Sounds
sometime.
good.
I would love to do that.
I mean, there's literally a bit in the film where the inspector's eyes glow red, a ninja noise sounds, and then he jumps out of a window and then disappears. It's like, what?
So he gets the woke eyes.
Yes.
With the
Yes, but it's kind of like demon woke eyes.
His friend is like businessman detective.
Yeah, and the weirdest thing as well is it came out the same year as the BBC one that was really good that you've probably seen in school.
I think I have it on DVD actually. I'm also
I know.
Really quite a good adaptation.
Yeah.
Is it? What's the actor's name? Is it David Thewlis who plays the inspector? He's really good, but yeah.
And in the Hong Kong Inspector Calls, they like have another person who contributed to not Eva Smith's death because they changed the names, obviously, because it's Hong Kong. And
Eva Smith, not generally known as a Mandarin/Cantonese name.
Not usually, but I mean.
But anyway, I think we've gone off topic again, haven't we? So,
yeah, well, we've been going off topic a lot.
I feel is this probably a sign that we should wrap it up with this and give our final thoughts on the film?
Seems though we're talking about future episodes, I think we've done with this one. So
yeah,
final thoughts.
I to be honest, I just want to move away from Dogtooth. I've seen it now. I've been traumatized. I never really want to think about it again.
Oh, right after this, I'm gonna suggest it to someone.
Tell them it'll be like a fun, family-friendly movie.
Yeah, get them to watch it with their family.
Come on,
Watch
kids!
it
I've
with
got
your
a film
dog.
for tonight.
Oh yeah, that was weird. That was weird. I guess. Ooh, that reminds me. Just one more point, very quickly. The way he has the children being obedient, it's almost like a dog. And the fact that he says that his wife is going to give birth to a dog and then goes to pick up a dog, is kind of like a parallel of how.
Well, there's even more parallels to dogs than that, isn't there? Because he teaches the children to act like dogs, to scare away the cats, and then of course you have the fact that they're licking each other to get their attention and to get things from each other.
And of course, dogs training obedience. It all connects.
Licking.
Very canid in fashion.
You know, I think if it was going to go a bit further, it would be start sniffing each other's asses. You know what I mean?
I think it went as far as it can. This film.
Yeah, I think it did though. I agree.
I think this actually was nominated at Cannes back when it was first done.
No, I think it won the. I think it won the Uncertain Regard actually. Yeah.
What's the Uncertain Regard?
Uncertain Regard. Let me check. It is. The name means from another angle, and the section is about presenting films with unusual styles and non-traditional stories that are seeking international recognition. And this won that award.
I think that definitely fits the description.
Border, incidentally, from one of the previous episodes, also won this award a couple of years back. So yeah.
Which sex scene do you think's more uncomfortable? The one from this or Border?
Oh, this one definitely. Because in the one from Border, at least the people involved were actually like consenting and enjoying it.
Yeah, good point.
And not related, or are they related in Border?
They looked related.
No, they aren't. Thank God.
But they weren't.
Okay.
They look similar, but they're not actually related, and that's the important part.
Yep.
Yeah, it's also got nominated for Best Foreign Language at the Oscars, though it didn't win. Interestingly.
Aww.
Yeah.
Oh, it won a bunch of things in Greece as well. I think by the looks of it, it seems to have been. Yeah, they actually said like it getting nominated for an Oscar was a really big deal back in Greece because it's like one of the first times their film industry has got any kind of international recognition, so they were really excited about
Definitely
it.
Deserves it.
Yeah, to be fair, it won Best Picture at the Hellenic Film Academy Awards, and like it is a really good movie. Don't know whether I'm going to say I don't think I ever actually want to watch this again, but it's a really good movie.
Yeah. Shall we go on to final thoughts?
I mean, we're basically on final thoughts, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
But yeah, no, technically it's great, but.
Yeah, I think if I was to rate this, I'm gonna give it a 5 because there's two very juxtaposing like things with this movie. I think I'm gonna give it, and I think it's because I never want to watch this movie again, and I think it's like traumatizing. To say the least, but at the same time, I think it's very well made and it was flawlessly made. But I don't that. It still bigs up a question in my mind of should it have been made?
Yeah.
And just because you can do something, does it mean you should?
I would reckon if you want to see more Lanthimos from the same director. I really enjoyed The Favourite, and it is quite different to this movie. It's certainly a lot more watchable. So that's definitely worth a watch.
What would you give it out of 10? Dogtooth, not The Favourite, that is.
Who are we asking?
You, Michael.
Well, I've just given mine, so.
Oh right. This has got to be like a strong 9. Like it is a really, really good, really well made film. Like every level, it works and succeeds, and it succeeds in its objective, which is being really, not pleasant to watch.
Horrendous to watch.
So even though I didn't necessarily enjoy it, I was impacted by it, and I can appreciate the craft. So I need to watch this guy's other movies, honestly, because apparently they are good.
Yeah.
I
agree.
I'm gonna give this for pretty much the same reasons, and also, well, I'm gonna give it 9.7. Not quite a 10, 0.3 off a 10, but it's pretty damn close to a 10. It is my kind of thing. I mean, not the sex scenes and stuff, but like, just like Dance of Reality, it's batshit crazy, and that's the kind of filmmaking I love. It's my jam. I love watching it.
In its own weird way, yeah. Oh, he did.
Would I watch this again? Probably. Would I watch it with other people? Hell no.
Yeah, this isn't a good one to show off to people, is it?
I wouldn't. I never want to watch this again. And but I will say this is very well made, and I hate the fact that it's well made.
Almost certainly, yeah. So, if that's our final thoughts done, I would like the audience to like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, because no one watches our videos.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys.
Yep.
I watch your videos. I am an avid watcher. I love it. I will say.
Well, there you go. We've got one
We've got a
viewer.
loyal viewer.
He's also on the show.
We've got a loyal viewer. I do watch this podcast. Well, listen to it rather, but obviously.
Viewer, listener.
Let's see if we can get to 2 loyal viewers.
Yeah, we'll get it to 2 loyal.
Anyway, next week.
We might reach like 50 subscribers this time in 2 years or so.
Oh gosh, that'd be amazing. Anyway, next week we shall be reviewing the 2 animated Japanese films, Ghost in the Shell and Spirited Away, featuring...
Oh yeah, we've got an anime double bill.
Yeah, anime double bill.
Oh man, you're up for good.
I can't wait, personally.
Ghost in the Shell is one of my favourite movies. I haven't watched Spirited Away though, so this should be good.
Anyway, so that's goodbye from me, the co-host Joseph.
But anyway, yeah, I think that's us done then,
Michael,
isn't it?
Do you want to say goodbye?
Unless we've missed anything.
Michael?
Alright, cool. What are you going to say, sorry?
Oh, I don't think I have anything to add.
Brilliant then.
Oh, well, Joseph's just left.
Right.
Incredible.
Okay, because as it's just... and with that
Hello?
Bombshell...
Anyway,
hello.
Outro.
Yeah,
goodbye from me, Joseph. Goodbye from Michael. Do you want to say goodbye, Michael?
It's a complete mess. Just end it. All right.
He just leaves the call, and me and Michael are just like, what? And then he joins us like, well, let's make it a wrap.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next episode. Have a good one.
Oh, look, I hopefully I'll be back. I really do hope.